A brand new set of brave singles put their hearts on the line in TV's most extraordinary experiment.
But is there a darker side to Married at First Sight UK? Women have told Panorama they were abused by their on-screen husbands.
3 women told the BBC they were assaulted during the filming of MAFS, or Married at First Sight UK. Channel 4 have pulled all 10 series from streaming. A new series has been axed. The official response, wholly uncorroborated and disputed. That phrase is doing a lot of work, and we will come back to it. What I want to talk about today is not whether those specific allegations are true. That's for the investigations. What I want to talk about is the methodology, the format of shows like MAFS. The structural conditions that make an outcome like this not a surprise, but a probability. I'm Krystyna Lennon, a behavioural expert and coach, and I've spent 30 years studying how people are influenced, manipulated, and changed at the neurological level. And I've been on the inside of enough TV productions to know exactly how this industry operates. This is the Human Behaviour Files. Let's start with what MAFS UK format was structurally designed to produce. The format places 2 strangers in a marriage before they've exchanged a single word. They consent to the process before they consent to the person.
Channel 4 says decisions were taken on a case-by-case basis, taking into account the information available at the time. It says the 3 women who have spoken to Panorama gave repeated assurances they felt safe, happy, and wanted to continue in the process.
This is pre-commitment bias engineered at the point of maximum vulnerability, disguised as a bold experiment. Pre-commitment bias is when a person continues investing in a situation because they have already publicly committed to it. The cost of leaving feels higher than the cost of staying, even when staying is causing harm. By the time participants in MAFS UK recognise that something is wrong, they are already married, on camera, with a production team invested in their continued presence, and a contract that they signed before any of this began. That structural trap isn't an accident, it's the whole point. Now add manufactured intimacy. Participants are placed in scenarios specifically designed to accelerate emotional disclosure. Honeymoons in isolated locations, structured conversations with preset emotional prompts, exercises designed to replicate the neurological conditions of genuine bonding without the time or foundation that genuine bonding requires. What you get is not intimacy, it's the behavioural signature of intimacy without underlying architecture. 2 people are performing closeness because the conditions have been engineered to produce that performance. And they can't always tell the difference. Then add authority compliance. Participants are told by experts, by producers, by the format itself to trust the process. The experts have matched them scientifically. The process works. Give it time. Don't leave, just push through. This is compliance derived from perceived expertise. It's one of the most powerful and least examined influence mechanisms there is. People will stay in situations that are clearly harmful because a figure authority has framed that harm as part of the journey. Just watch my Milgram experiment video. These 3 mechanisms do not require anyone to intend harm. They produce harm as a structural output.
After I left the show, I just felt I completely lost my grip. And I had intrusive thoughts of my own death. And then when the show went out, that really intensified into suicidal thoughts, which is not something I'd ever had before. It was frightening.
That is what makes them so important to understand. And here's what makes the authority compliance particularly worth examining. The experts on MAFS UK, the people whose professional credibility underwrites the entire format, whose presence transforms a television experiment into a scientifically validated process, those experts are not watching the production. They are watching a dinner party.
You need to let it go.
You wouldn't believe me.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
That is it. One curated, producer-selected segment. Everything else, the private conversations, the moments of breakdown and pressure and emotional dysregulation, is concocted and shaped entirely by producers. The experts don't see it. They are shown a slice and they analyse the slice. And that analysis is then used to validate everything else. So when a participant is told to trust the process because the experts say so, what the experts have actually seen is a small snippet of it. They're not watching all the time. So there's no welfare system, there's just the appearance of one. But there's something underneath all this that doesn't get talked about enough. Producers on these shows are trained in natural manipulation techniques, rapport building, state elicitation, getting close to extract, reading a person's emotional state, identifying the entry point, and using it. I know what these techniques look like because I've spent 30 years using the clinical version of them in therapy rooms with consent and for the benefit of the person in the chair. And another reason I know this is a producer once asked me directly for tips on manipulation and persuasion techniques, and that wasn't framed as concern for participants or for welfare. It was framed as craft, as something to get better at. That conversation told me everything I needed to know about how the industry thinks about people inside its productions. I use a similar toolkit as these production teams. However, the difference isn't the technique, it's who it serves. In a clinical setting, that's the person in the chair. In a production setting, it's the camera. The more emotionally raw the content, the higher the engagement. The more salacious the disclosure, the better the views. The more extreme the reaction, the more useful the footage. That's the business model. And here's what it requires of the people operating it. It requires them to get close enough to a participant to identify what they are most afraid of, what they are most ashamed of, most desperate to protect, and then create conditions in which that material surfaces on camera. Participant welfare is an inconvenience to a production schedule. Participant distress is content. I've appeared on 50 TV shows, including Britain's Got Talent, and I was continually asked to go further with hypnotic volunteers, people who had agreed to participate in good faith, who were in an altered state, who were, by definition, at their most vulnerable. Most producers had no regard for their welfare. What they had was a view count, a running estimate of what would make great television, and a set of requests for me to match it. I had to make welfare my job because no one else in the building had made it theirs. My son Joel and his partner Robbie were in Made in Chelsea.
I'm excited for you to meet him. You're going to love him. You are. This is my first proper boyfriend.
Hello.
Wow.
Nice to see you.
Oh God, he's gorgeous.
Nice to meet you girls.
I'm in like awe.
Wow, you're so beautiful.
You guys
You
are
two
so
look
beautiful
great as
together.
well.
And they left due to the pressure of the show, pushing a narrative that, looking back, they were really not comfortable with. It's exactly the same methodology, maybe just slightly different volumes. This is not an industry that occasionally fails its duty of care. This is an industry in which the absence of that care is a feature, not a fault. And most people go into these productions never see it coming because they have been expertly rapport built. They trust the process. And someone who seemed to genuinely care about them spent weeks getting close enough to know exactly which button to press. Wholly uncorroborated and disputed. Let's go back to that phrase. They're not denying harm, they are denying the specific allegations. Those are very different things. What isn't disputed is the harmful format, the methodology, or that Channel 4 pulled the series from streaming, axed a new one, and commissioned an external review. Institutions do not do that because everything was fine. They do it because saying wholly uncorroborated and disputed is just not enough anymore. What we're watching is an institution in the early stages of reckoning, with the distance between its stated purpose and its operational reality. That gap is where the most significant harm in any institution tends to live. And it's not unique to television. It shows up in therapy rooms, in corporations, and in families. The mechanism is the same. The oversight is absent. These participants were chosen because they wanted fame, bonded to strangers using techniques the experts never witnessed, and told to trust a system that was built to exploit them, not protect them. That is not Channel 4 welfare failure. The drama was the point. They just didn't expect the camera to turn on them. In this video, we covered pre-commitment bias, manufactured intimacy, authority compliance, the producer methodology, the institutional pattern. And if you want me to go any deeper on these, let me know in the comments. I'm Krystyna Lennon, and this has been the Human Behaviour Files.